All right, people, back at it again. This time I'm going to give you guys a reaction video, right, to the infographic show. Science reveals if brain rot is really making you dumb. All right. So normally this is my first time actually doing a reaction video to infographic show. But the main reason why I'm doing this is mainly because I believe it. I really believe the fact that we live in a very oversaturation of cell phones and content all over the world that it is starting to affect our brains. See, I'm an older cat, right? I grew up in the 90s before this was during the time of the basic internet with the with AOL, right? So we didn't have the internet that is within our fingertips, literally within our fingertips. We didn't have any of that. We had books. We had to go outside. We had to get to know people, right? Now it's become so just insanely oversaturated. So without further ado, let's dive into this.
Cool. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Little Johnny just has to do 10 math problems and it's recess time. Should be pretty easy. He just needs to remember those times tables. 3 times 3 is... Well, and now he's thinking about that TikTok he saw this morning where the cat fell over. That was a classic. Might as well pull out the phone and watch it again. Wait, what's the teacher yelling about? Brain rot. They're the words on everyone's minds. And if you ask...
And during my time, I sound like an old man. During my time, we never had any type of cell phone. Now, we didn't. The closest technological device we had was our Texas Instrument calculators, right? Remember back in those days where it's like, you cannot use a calculator, you're cheating. Well, what about a whole cell phone where you could just Google anything at your fingertips, right? You have babies, okay? Instead of, throwing the baby with a pacifier so it can just shut up, now you got the phone to keep it occupied. It's crazy, but let's continue.
Teachers, it's a very real problem with kids' attention spans and critical thinking. But is it really happening? And is it affecting far more than just kids? Find out on this episode of The Infographic Show. Science proves if brain rot is really making you dumb. So, what is brain rot anyway? It's not like it's a new concept. We all grew up with our parents yelling, "That music is garbage!" Or, "Those cartoons are gonna rot your brain!" And everyone knows nothing ever came of the Beatles or the Simpsons, so it's not like the old folks don't ever miss once in a while. But this era, it seems different. People aren't just...
Yeah, remember the closest thing that we had, I'm going to be doing a lot of pausing, okay? If you want to watch the original, the link will be in the description below. You guys came here for commentary, so there's going to be pausing, okay? So all the people, why you pause so much? I don't care. Watch something else, okay? So anyway, so I remember back then, right? Because that gave me a memory trigger. I remember back in the 90s. With the Mortal Kombat video games, right? A lot of people's like, this is terrible. This will affect children as they grow up. They might start Xing out people, if you know what I mean. Putting people on ice, leaving them 6 feet under or running them over, doing some crazy stuff because of the violence, right? I said run them over because I'm mixing that with Grand Theft Auto, obviously, right? Because that was a huge problem as well. Everybody was like, why are you just having video games like this where kids are, even though it's rated M, kids are out there playing the games where they are icing people out with their, pew-pews, if you know what I mean, running people over with vehicles, stealing, getting women of the night, having fun with them, Xing them out. Like that there was the big advent of many moms and parents trying to, put a strike to not have these video games out there in the mass market. But now, it looks like bubble gums and gumdrops compared to what's happening now, right? Kids have easy access to information. That's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing, right? To the point where this is why we live in society, in this day and age, where people are just not right in the head because they got so much information that they should have not had at a young age. And instead of, back then where you take away the magazine or something that was more tangible, well, it's really hard to do that where everything is just inside of one device. So let me know if you guys agree or disagree, but let's get back into it.
Just convinced the current media is bad, they're worried that it's actually damaging the cognitive abilities of a whole generation, and they might have science to prove it. And when something gets named Word of the Year, people tend to pay attention. Oxford University named brain rot as its Word of the Year in 2024, and it gave us a credible definition to go with it: the deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, often caused by overconsumption of low-quality online content. It can also refer to the content itself, but the term goes back much further than that. The first recorded use of the term was actually by philosopher Henry David Thoreau in 1854, when he described a decline in intellectual standards. This was one of many things he was seeking to escape at Walden Pond, but today it's harder and harder to escape. Low-quality, thinking-free content was always around. Your grandfather likely grew up watching Moe poke Curly in the eyes, and he may have gotten a whooping for trying to duplicate it on his brother. Gen X kids probably enjoyed watching ridiculous wrestling matches in the 1980s, and the millennials had their early...
even beyond 1980s, also 1990s with WWF, with the Attitude Era, a lot of that, or the Jerry Springer Show, right? All that was technically brain rot. It's just one of these terminologies that people are coining, like buzzwords, just like with jobs. People are calling it quiet quitting when an employee is like secretly looking for a new job, or they gotten lazier at their job because they've been there for a long time. Like, these things exist, but now there's like coin terms, you know? So you got brain rot.
Early viral videos on the internet. Remember Neon Cat? That rainbow pooping Pop-Tart cat sure could cruise around the cosmos, but something is different now. How did this become a global problem? Well, it all comes down to one word: algorithm. In the past, people engaged with content when it was available, often on live TV. You watched 20 minutes of cartoons or an hour of wrestling, and then you did something else and your brain recalibrated. Even with those early viral videos, there was usually nothing to keep you tethered to the internet. Today,
this is a good example. Even look at this vector graphic right here of her just looking at her phone. And that's, I'm not gonna lie to you, man, it's not healthy to have your phone right next to you while you're sleeping. Also, I will even be transparent and tell you times where I will literally watch something and I'm just wired. Because, you know, when you're getting information through a video, you're as much as your body want to sleep, your brain and your eyes are like, no, I gotta watch it till the end. And it's a bad habit to watch content inside of your room and on your bed, where that should be a space where you should just go to bed. You know, it's late at night, just sleep. But no, you're just stuck on your phone, you know, just like this vector graphic, and you're just watching it and watching it and watching it and watching it until you watch enough content where you start dozing off, and then that makes you go to sleep. So think about that for a second. Back then, when you was a little kid, your mom or dad, right? I didn't have this when I was a kid, but your mom and dad had to read a bedtime story, right? Just to get you to sleep, because you're just getting all that information and DN. Now, it's like the kids are just on their phones, even adults. We're just on our phone, just watching, right? Watching. Then eventually you go to bed. And then you just wake up next to your phone. It's like, whoa. And nothing, too. Isn't that strange, where it's like, you get this type of, people call it like, you know, instead of sleep paralysis, you get phone paralysis. You ever felt that before, where it's like, you will wake up like, oh, wait, where's my phone? Oh, there it is. Like, the first thing you grab is your phone, because you're addicted out of curiosity of the notifications. What's new, pussycat? Whoa. You're just constantly addicted to the dang phone. The notifications over and over every single day. And these notifications, they don't mean anything. It's arbitrary, but you like to feel good, especially if you have content on Instagram. Oh, all these people like your stuff. Like, whoop-de-doo. Like, who cares? But you care, because a lot of us become more insecure off of attention because of our phones. So it's not just watching other people's content. You're also looking at the notifications of your own content. And that right there is just way too much in terms of humanity. But let's continue.
Streaming entertainment is delivered by social media companies that keep tabs on your data. That means they know what you're watching, and they're ready to give you more of it. If you like one song, you can repeat it ad nauseum or just move on to the next one with only a click. And that means it's easy to spend the day scrolling away. These sites are designed to be addictive, and X, Facebook, and Reddit all use a front page style that just lets you roll the page down and deliver new posts indefinitely. Similarly, YouTube will always have a new video ready for you when you finish the old one. And if you have autoplay on, well, you don't even need...
Are you really the last person to find out about the skip ads forever button?
Are you like really willing to skip on this ad? Because I am.
That means
and
if you...
Also, just to add on to this video, have you guys ever had that where you're just constantly just arbitrarily scrolling? So back then you had your remote. You're like, oh man, there's no channels to watch. What is new? Oh, nope, don't want to watch that. So then now you're just scrolling. Then you got dating apps. Instead of you going vertical, you're going horizontal. You're like left swipe, right, left, right, up, down. Everything is just disgusting. But that's crazy. You're just arbitrarily just scrolling. You're in an alpha state. Literally, you're in an alpha state. You're just looking at your phone just for no reason. Have you ever like walked around outside and you just try to look cool to pretend you're busy so you're on your phone? But reality, you're just checking emails that you already seen that you refresh over and over. Or if you got Instagram, Snapchat, you already seen the notifications, but you're just refreshing to see if you got a new one. There's something wrong with you. They talk about BetterHelp. No, this isn't sponsored by BetterHelp. You just need help by just going outside. Try to do something where you just go to the park, you touch grass, and you don't bring your phone with you. Try doing that. Try doing times where you just alleviate yourself from your phone, and you will thank me later. Trust me.
Wanted, you could just mainline infographic show videos all day. But there are plenty of other video sources out there that won't provide nearly that much information. And all those channels start getting their fans very early. If you ask the average parent to define brain rot, they would probably say, "That annoying song my kid keeps playing." A common complaint is that YouTube has been taken over by low-effort content farms designed to create simple but catchy songs that kids will become obsessed with and play endlessly. Many of these tunes are either based on public domain songs, like the wildly popular toddler TV show Cocomelon. Others are a lawyer's nightmare engaging in frequent copyright infringement. Ever wanted to see the inside-out emotions dance to BTS songs? You're in luck. And there's a new culprit in this, the robots. Everyone's been talking about AI, and while the technology isn't perfect, many content creators are finding it useful to automate certain parts of the process. However, attempts to use it to create all content...
I'm tired of those AI short videos when they have the same guy doing the voices like, ever seen how you ever do this? Click right here to know this. You ever know why this person gets punched in the face? Now they increased this by 5,000, then 25,000 added more, then 5,000 added more to that. Quite fun, right? Click here to see more. It's just so horrible. Terrible. That's another reason why I don't edit videos either. And this is why people, they will watch podcasts, right? Because they want to find something that's more humane. But then even that becomes terrible because people will have fake rage baits. They will just have fake arguments for the sake of arguing. Like, it's not that serious. It's not that deep, but we got to argue because that increases the engagement levels, right? And then you also got to have the topics of men versus women, or it's terrible finding jobs nowadays, or I'm a rich billionaire and I'm just going to talk to you guys about my success. It's always just some crazy over the top topics and people who they bring on to podcasts that everything is corrupted, man. And the ones that aren't, unfortunately, they don't get pushed in the algorithm.
Without a human touch have usually fallen very flat, except for the content farms, which really don't care about a high level of quality. They just care that toddlers won't be able to tell the difference, and most of them don't. That makes it easier to pump out those videos faster and faster, keeping kids hooked. And to say the impact has been significant would be putting it lightly. The frontline soldiers when it comes to discovering the impact of brain rot have been teachers. Gen Z and now Gen Alpha are digital natives, with many of them growing up with a smartphone in their hands.
Have you guys noticed the different dynamic nowadays? How back then kids used to play with toys. I used to play with toys. I had Legos when I was a kid. I used to have Bionicles. And you have to go through the process of building. So it was like a labor of love. Like not only it's not like the action figure is fully assembled. You have to build it from the ground up. And then when you build it, it's like, wow, now you get to play around with it, And I think certain adults, they have that when it comes down to the extremely detailed, Gundam, action figures that they only give you little tiny pieces that you got to poke out and then put this together. And it could take damn near hours, if not days, just to assemble it. And then you feel like prideful, like, wow, I built this from the ground up. Like that notion is gone. Everything is just instant gratification, microwave society, everybody want to be TikTok famous. You just lip sync into somebody else's success, and then you get views. You're dancing to all the stuff that everybody's dancing to, and then you get the views. Jazz hands. Like it's just so ridiculous. It's crazy, But it's just sad because like you go from no longer having toys. Everything has been subjugated. That's not even a word. Everything has been tailored down to just a phone. Right, let me exaggerate to get a closer view. Just this, if you got an iPhone or Android, just this. Everything's been pedigreed. It's just one device. That's everything. Think about that. No more toys, right? You go from toys as a little kid, as a toddler, baby, toddler, whatever. And then right when you become a kid, like when you're like 5, 6 years old, phone. And this phone, throughout the rest of your life, is going to be just different variations of phones until you are 6 feet under. I won't even be surprised if you're 6 feet under and you're just like this with your phone. So you're with your phone even beyond your lifetime. Your phone dies just like you. Think about that. People freak out when their phone is about to die. It's crazy. But let's get back into it.
In some cases, that means they've been mainlining content in their eyeballs since they were toddlers, and that has an impact on attention span. For older kids and adults, they might have very different memories, such as being read a leisurely story by mom and then sitting through long and detailed lessons in school. But now everything seems sped up. A key element of brain rot is that it is fast. Most content today aimed at kids is under a minute, with many of the popular YouTube videos being even shorter. The iconic Skibbity Toilet, one of the most famous examples of brain rot, starts with only about...
Do you need a free, easy way to capture your gameplay?
No, I don't care.
Record anything on your PC.
Get out of here. What is this? I don't agree with this. YouTube's algorithm, leave me alone.
Singing heads sticking out of toilets, and later installments rarely cross the 2-minute mark. And then there's TikTok.
Another thing too, let me just, I'll let it play, then I'm going to pause it.
If it's still running, the quick viral video app is full of influencers who have mastered the art of explaining their content in under a minute, whether it's accurate or not. And that impact is seen in the classroom every day. Current studies show that the average attention...
Like think about that. With 1 minute content. Like everything from photography, like a camera, to information, to applying to jobs, to trying to find your soulmate through dating apps, to becoming a millionaire, checking your emails, sending messages, having video chats. Everything is on this one device. And this is why Elon Musk said one time in Joe Rogan that we are technically androids. No pun intended, because this is an android. But, I mean, androids. We are technically cyborgs, not androids, because androids are literally robots that look like human beings. Cyborgs are human beings that have cybernetic parts. It's an extension of us, you know? The moment you don't have your cell phone, you start losing it. That mechanical device, you might as well just have it inside of your brain. Because that's where we're headed to eventually. You know, when I'm an old man, I'm like, back in my days, these used to be external. It wasn't inside your dang noggin. That will eventually become the case, the rate this is going.
Span of Gen Z has declined a lot. In 2004, it was 2.5 minutes. By 2012, it had declined to 75 seconds. And in 2018, it was only 47 seconds. But not only that, but the first decline in attention begins after only 8 seconds. That's led many teachers to say they feel like they have to perform for their students, not just teach them. They're tailoring their lessons to keep their attention without focusing too long on one topic. For some teachers, that's easy.
Cell phones should not be... cell phones should be banned. I know a lot of kids. No, you guys are starting to have ADHD. Like, I didn't grow up as a kid with cell phones in the school. Cell phones should be banned. You know, like, you shouldn't be having your cell phone while you're in class. They should at least, you know, have whatchamacallit, cubbies or what baskets where you put your cell phone in the basket. You're in class, and when class is over, you take it from the basket. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It should not be while you're in class, you're just like, he or she, your teacher's lecturing, and you're just like, Robert, what did we say as far as, do you know the answer to this question? iPhone, Android, wrong. Ha ha ha, Robert said iPhone, Android. He is dumb. Like, it should never be something like that where they're not paying attention. Like, even comedians, they get mad over that. That's why even comedy shows, they're like, yo, before it starts, they tell you, yo, put your phone, they grab your phones. Because the last thing they want to do is to perform and no one is even looking. Everybody's glued to their phones. That's disrespectful. Imagine even if you go on a date with someone, you're talking to them, you're looking at them, you want to get to know them, and they're literally just like this at you. Like it's crazy. I saw that one time. One of my ex, we went out, right, to a restaurant, and we saw a couple. We could just tell they met through dating apps. They didn't really know each other. They sat down, mind you, in a restaurant. They sat down, table in front of each other. I mean, chair, you know, they just sit in front of each other. They did not say a word. Literally, and this was like around 2017, 2018. They did not say a word. The whole entire time, they was just, each of them was just on their cell phone. Just the whole time. Just, food came in. Oh, okay. Eat. Go back to this. And then when it was done, they both got up and they left. That's sad. That's embarrassing. That's a waste of time. Human beings, we cannot lean towards that direction because we're going to lose sight of our humanity.
But it's incredibly challenging when you're trying to help them master an in-depth topic like the infamous long division. So, we know the kids aren't all right, but is it just the kids? Millennials and even older generations might not have grown up with a smartphone in our hands, but we have certainly got one now. The call of social media is impossible to avoid, and today most people find themselves casually using their phone almost constantly. Commutes used to be filled with people reading newspapers. Now almost everyone is on their phones, and they can even make it easy to pass the time while standing in line.
If you guys ever go to New York or places where it's populated in public transportation, 99% of the people there, I promise you, are going to be looking at their phones. Even though they're underground, because nowadays with the 5G, whatever G, now with the technology and internet exposure, expansion, they're able to still have service even though they're underground. So they are just stuck on their phones. And I remember the transitional phase when that was going on. I felt like it was like apocalyptic. Like, am I the only one that's like self-aware that I'm on the train? Everybody just like scrolling, just glued to their phones as if they're not alive. It's so weird.
At the DMV. If someone has earbuds, they can watch videos. And if not, there are still plenty of amusing memes to scroll through. And it might just be undoing decades of progress. Even adults have found themselves struggling with attention span at work. And when they read for leisure, finding it incredibly easy to get distracted and turn.
You know what I find funny? If you text a girl, right? You say something and she responds with LOL. right? LOL. What does that mean? Laugh out loud. Let me show you how she really looks when you send her that message. That's it. Just a little smirk. Sometimes it's really just this. LOL. We are losing sight of humanity, people. And that right there is not a joke.
To the smartphone again. A big part of this is the algorithm behind social media is designed to be addictive. After all, what's the harm in one more scroll on Reddit? But there is increasing evidence that it might not just be a psychological element. The change in our memory spans isn't simply due to getting used to social media as part of life. These new changes to how we consume media might actually be changing.
Are you a Roblox fanatic?
No,
Microsoft
I don't play
Rewards has a brand
Roblox.
new way for
Advertising
you
got to
to
do
earn
better.
digital gift cards.
Our
I don't play
biology.
Roblox.
At some point in prehistory,
I'm
a
not 12.
strange-looking land animal decided to move closer to the water to make it easier to hunt fish and crabs. The new food source was welcoming, and over the years, the animal and its descendants spent more and more time in the water. Their bodies started to evolve to it, and after countless cycles, they had evolved into today's whales, animals completely habituated to the water and unable to survive on land. If that story was testing your attention span, you might be in the same situation as the prehistoric animal, with your body and mind evolving to account for the new media paradigm. But those changes may not be to our benefit. In 2019, the World Psychiatry Association published a paper detailing what they called the online brain. It confirmed many of the things people had observed. Heavy social media use was shortening our attention spans and weakening our memory, as well as changing the way we think.
Not just changing the way we think, but also complacency. Instead of us becoming more reliable on our hands and our brains, now we depend on external information through our device, pretty much. So, what's 3 times 3? Phone. Or you just ask something like this: Alexa, what's 3 times 3? I know it's 9, but I'm saying.
I'm not quite sure how to help you.
Alexa, what's 3 times 3?
3 times 3 is 9.
You see, you got to get used to doing stuff like that, right? You got to just depend on some freaking device to give you all the freaking answers, right? Remember back then when you had to go with Channel 5, whatever type of news to get the weather? Now you could do this. Alexa, what's the weather?
Right now in Houston, it's 59 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly cloudy skies.
There you go.
Tonight's forecast has thunderstorms.
There you
with a
go.
low of 39 degrees.
There you
Also,
go.
There's a wind advisory.
Alexa, shut up. See the difference? See the difference? Like, now you can literally have something like that. So imagine you get a bigger, device that's a robot. And if I tell it to shut up, it might just go, and it'll be like Terminator, the next sequel, whatever it's called. That's crazy. The more you depend on these devices, the dumber we get. Because now we're no longer challenging our cognitive function, and we rely on all the heavy load on a device. The law of diminishing return, it's severe. Very, very severe.
But it was doing more than that. In observing the brains of children who grew up with heavy screen time and comparing them to those who had limited access to smartphones, there was a marked difference in the size of gray matter, and almost no one is safe. A study in the UK showed that the average UK adult was spending at least 4 hours a day online, with Gen Z men spending around 5.5 and Gen Z women spending almost 6.5. But even when you filter that out, that means the older generations are spending 3 hours or more on average consuming information from the internet. And that is getting less and less reliable. Major tech companies now flood search results with AI-generated summaries, blurring fact and fiction. Meanwhile, influencers thrive by inserting conspiracy theories into real-time crises, feeding confusion and fear. For someone whose primary source of knowledge is the internet, that could make them very vulnerable to disinformation. So, the question is, what is to be done? For the kids, more and more parents and schools are starting to push back. Multiple states have announced they're introducing or bringing back cell phone bans at school, but that's only half of the battle. Kids who've been raised on them are already addicted and their minds are attuned to this kind of content. That means every day under cell phone bans will likely be a battle for teachers to get them to put them away and pay attention if they can. Generation Beta might have a better chance. More parents are questioning the wisdom of giving kids cell phones or tablets early. If the newest generation has less screen time and is exposed to less brain rot, they might have a better chance when starting school. But
I know it's going to be a bit of a hot take what I'm saying. I still find it very, very weird to me when, like I know before TikTok, it was like Musically. And I remember when that first came out, I was like, what is this crap? Like I was one of those, why are you saying that? But I'm like, seriously, like, why do you have kids being enabled to make content? They shouldn't, like, they should be like an age where you should be at least 16, like at least a time where you could get a permit. That's the time where you can make content. You shouldn't be making content at 10 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. That's weird to me. That's strange. You know, people talk about like raiding all of these PDF files. I'm literally gotta say it like that. But then they're making it super easy by having these kids having login accounts on TikTok. That should not be the case, you know, at all. You can watch TikTok, but you shouldn't have an actual account where you can upload and people could tell, oh, this person is 5 years old. They should not have that. It should be completely banned until you are like 16, 17. I find that strange. I remember when I made a TikTok before, and then like I don't comment on people's in the terms of, I don't even watch people's content on TikTok. I just made my own, one of them, and it just felt weird. Like a little kid comments, and I'm like, what is this? Like it's just like I don't understand the notion of that. I know a lot of conspiracy people are like, that's by design. Look, I ain't touching on those waters, but I do find it alarming, to say the least.
What about the rest of us? Well, it turns out Grandma might have had a point. Scientists are just beginning to study the long-term effects of heavy internet and smartphone use on the brain. But some experts are already starting to give tips to those who want to reverse the effects. The best thing they say you can do is put down the phone. Taking a break from content, even a short one, can help your brain recalibrate. Take the time to do a craft, work through a crossword puzzle or a Sudoku puzzle, or if you can't bear to be without screens, turn on Wheel of Fortune and
or just go outside. If it's nice outside, go outside. Go outside. Go to a place where, I mean, if you have a car, okay, you got more mobility to move around. But if you don't have a car, find places where it's walking distance, whether it's a park or whatever. If it's nice out, leave your phone. Leave your phone. Now you don't have to rely on checking notifications. Just leave your phone. Take a breather. Be around nature. Be around people that you care about, that you trust, that you want to learn, and they learn from you. Have discussions, because I feel like nowadays people don't even want to talk anymore because there's so much information, there's so much entertainment that we become so numb towards conversations. And this is why you see a lot of these like online therapy, like BetterHelp, making a killing, mainly because people don't even have a friend to talk to. So you got to pay a lot of money just to have a bit of a parasocial relationship. It's not a real relationship. It's client to professional relationship, right? Not friend to friend, right? And even when it comes down to even content creators and people who are on the comments viewing the video, it's still going to be a parasocial relationship. Yeah, you can have a Discord where you guys are texting each other, whatever. But it's not the same compared to having a friend. And why do you think that is so big right now? Because people are lacking that in their lives. Because so many people are focused on their phones that we're losing sight of just being organic. Like, not everything have to be grandiose when you hang out with someone. It can just be as little as, yo, we just talking. You know? Just walking and talking. It don't need to be, we got to do this and go, like, none of this like artificial BS. And it's sad because a lot of people are losing that side of humanity, and that's the sociability is extremely important.
Play along. It all keeps the brain more active than aimlessly scrolling. But while the loss of memory and cognition might be one big problem, it's not the only one. Another key factor in how brain rot is making us dumber is what it makes us believe.
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus. And this is your brain when you're in the zone. But getting in the zone and staying there.
There is a quote commonly attributed to a legendary American author, Mark Twain. A lie can travel around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. And that has never been clearer than in the internet age. During the 2025 California wildfires, websites like TikTok and X, the former Twitter,
even with the wildfires, they have so much fake AI videos of Hollywood being burned. Like Hollywood was burning, but reality, the Hollywood sign did not burn at all. It was just AI. But when people saw that, they thought it was real. So don't believe everything you see on the internet.
were hotbeds of conspiracy theories from every direction. Some claimed that drones were setting the fires, causing a firefighting drone to be damaged. Others claimed that the reason there was no water to fight the fires was because a billionaire pistachio magnate had privatized all the water. More ridiculously, the claim that 8 Ukrainian generals had their houses burned down in the fire went viral, with no one thinking to ask why Ukrainian generals would have houses in the Hollywood Hills. And as ridiculous as all those were, they spread far and wide. It's become increasingly common for the younger generation to rely on TikTok for news, with many quoting it as a primary source when questioned. The result is everything from humorous stories about how to create infinite chocolate to teenagers committing check fraud.
But that can become extremely dangerous, because guess who are the main people who they watch on TikTok when it comes out to getting news? Content creators, influencers. They're not going to the actual source. They're getting it from someone else. And a lot of times when they get it from someone else, well, that source is a funnel, right? It's being funneled. So they're getting their opinion, and sometimes they care more about the person's opinion than the actual source itself. So that could be also a huge misdirect.
Fraud because of a TikTok promising them one secret trick to free money. But the older generation isn't safe either. Facebook is full of pages spreading fake stories backed up by AI art that's designed to raise high emotions. This was especially common during the North Carolina floods that devastated many communities, with pictures going viral of crying children being evacuated while carrying wet pets, except none of them were real. And this could be creating a scary future. Politics have always been divided.
That's a very scary future. Imagine something like that happening where the whole thing was fabricated. You know, like making imagery of World War III, or this whole state, the state of this Louisiana, whatever, has been flooded, and there's so many videos of that happening, where in real life, the place is perfectly fine. You know, like what I said with the whole wildfires. Yes, the wildfires was real, but one thing that was fake about it was Hollywood sign being burnt. It was burning. Like, that's fake. It's AI. So AI can be extremely dangerous if people are going to push that as fake news, and that could just create mass hysteria. So that's something to keep an eye out.
Divisive, with everyone having their own opinion. But what happens when everyone has their own facts? Political debates today are usually less about how to solve a problem and more about whether a problem is actually happening. In some cases, it's about how you define it, but in others, one side has an objective truth on its side and the other has very strong emotions based on a fake video they just watched. And this has resulted in many teachers having to repeatedly explain things, and many millennials nervously asking their boomer parents exactly where they heard that. But the shocking part is not everyone thinks that there is something wrong with that. We've all heard it from someone with an addiction. I don't need help, I can quit anytime I want. But that might not be the case for digital natives. Generation Z, or the iPad kids, have been transformed in some unique ways, including the way they talk. They use slang that's baffling to adults, including the infamous skibbity and other terms like riz. But most view the—
I've noticed that even before that, they used to be the language of texting started to become the language of dialogue. You know, like LOL, right? Obviously, that's a texting thing, right? But what's interesting is like Riz and all this type of stuff. All this stuff started to blow up. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, was due to people sending super chats or sending comments where you're only limited to a few characters. So if you bring up way too many characters in the comments for a content creator to read, they're gonna most likely not read your comment because it's way too long. So you're gonna have a lot of these acronyms, abbreviations, and all this type of stuff. And certain acronyms and abbreviations start to become people's dialogue, and also from memes as well. So it's just it's weird. It's not weird, but it's just one of those things where different generation, right? That's their language. So it is what it is.
This just as a funny quirk that speaks to their generation, and it helps them make sense in a world that increasingly doesn't feel safe.
Like glaze,
and for some,
right? You just
the brain
been
rot
glazed.
itself
Always
is
glazing
comforting.
me.
The majority of brain rot
So much
targets
glaze.
are very young kids who are new to the
Glow
digital
up.
world, aiming to hook them quickly. But it's picked up another audience,
That's cat.
teenagers who sometimes just like to turn their brains off. There is a sense of absurdism to many of the things that Gen Z embraces, such as the viral movie Goncharov. You remember Goncharov, right? The 1980s Martin Scorsese movie about the Russian
Never
mob.
watched it.
No? Well, that's because it doesn't exist. It was created out of a Tumblr meme based on a random combination of letters on the
That's
tag of
crazy.
bootleg merchandise. But Zoomers built a whole mythology around it just for fun. And that's what drives a lot of the nonsense this generation embraces. They just want something that lets them be silly. And that's let some people argue that it's not brain rot, it's just the new evolution in communication. Cultural anthropologist Mimi Ito coined the term.
But that's not a new revolution of communication if you're given false information. I mean, if people are making a business out of lying, I get it. A lot of businesses lie. But hear me out. If basic communication is based upon, trolling and lying and deceiving, then what's the point of building anything with that particular individual if all they do is just lie? Like, there's no structure. You can't trust someone who constantly lies over and over and over, and they do that just to get a kick out of other people. Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Genre of participation to refer to the media that encourages the audience to feel a part of it. That's part of the appeal many kids and teenagers find in the absurdity of brain rot. If they're focusing on singing toilets or fake movies or whatever scrolling on TikTok, they're not thinking about the climate crisis or dangers at school. Talking to many Gen Z students, scientists often find they consider brain rot to be part of their mental health support, but that doesn't mean it's safe long term. While some people are saying the kids are all right, the majority are deeply worried about the long-term impact of social media and brain rot on kids' brains as they come of age. That's led to some extreme proposals for solutions, the kind that might make the kid.
What I'm hearing out of this, the analogy I could give you guys is, imagine if McDonald's, right? It's good, right? Because it's food. And if you look at the basics of food, well, food keeps you alive, right? You need food in order to survive. So all off of that necessity, I guess McDonald's is definitely beneficial because it's food. Just because it's food doesn't mean long-term is beneficial. It's the same thing when it comes down to brain rot, right? It's content. Yes, entertainment is escapism. But that short form of content that you're constantly drilling inside of your brain, well, that is terrible food for your thought, pun intended. So instead of it being physical food like McDonald's that ain't good for you, but brain rot is food for your mind that's terrible for you long term. So I don't really see the benefit in it. Just because it's content and it's escapism doesn't mean it's valuable for your life.
Kids long for the cell phone bans. Florida was the first state to strike in the United States, with the Sunshine State passing a law that requires social media sites to ban all users under 14. This would cause the shutdown of countless accounts and
It should be under 16. Honestly, at this point, it should be under 16.
Many kids to go cold turkey, but it'll be hard to enforce in the United States. The law puts the onus on the companies, and we all know kids are good at getting around bans, as any theater owner when the South Park movie was playing knows well. But that's nothing compared to what they have planned down under. Australia passed a total social media ban for all kids under 16.
Damn
Far
right.
more dramatic.
See, look at that. I didn't even watch this part of the video. Actually, I only watched the like up to 5 minutes, but yeah, it should be up to 16. Why? Because they need to be a kid. They need to be a kid. No cell phone. Maybe a cell phone should be a flip phone, not a smartphone. Emergency phone, right? For texting, for calling. Isn't it funny how nowadays we utilize the phone, but we don't utilize the phone. We don't talk on the phone. We don't do that. We video chat, we text, we watch so much content, we pay our bills, we go on dating apps, and so forth. But we don't even talk on the phone. We can't do that. Why? Because we're on the apps, we're multitasking, having 3 or 4, 5, 6 apps playing all at the same time. It's crazy. It's not good for the brain. This is why it should be, in my opinion, it should be when you're 16, right? If you're under 16, you shouldn't have a smartphone. Learn how to be a kid. Go through the basic fundamentals of growing up. And then you're getting close to being an adult where you make your own independent decisions, you know? Because you got a permit. You could drive a car. So you should have a smartphone. You should at that point, because then you're going to need it for GPS when you're going from point A to point B. And which, that is sad that we don't use a map anymore. So all of the tangible things we don't use anymore. Everything is just all meshed up into one smartphone device.
Because virtually all 15-year-olds have social media and are in the middle of the period where they're most dependent on it. It's led to mass public outcry, with one millennial senator even taking to the floor to deliver a speech in Gen Z slang that shocked the rest of the body. It was certainly the only time skibbity was ever said in a parliamentary record. But other advocates are saying it's not the age of the users, it's how social media is used. Is it time for the tech companies to be held to account? Those defending the role social media plays in kids' lives say the problem is actually how they're fed content. They want the social media companies to do away with the endless scroll and the algorithm that feeds users an endless supply of content. And many users support that as well.
Everything is a race to get your attention, and not just a race to get your attention, but it's a race to keep you on the app. That's the whole point. From TikTok to YouTube to Instagram, they want you glued in from beginning all the way to the end, and then do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. Why do you think they push on Instagram sex sells? I literally don't even I don't follow nobody on Instagram. I don't. I just have it as a portfolio for the channel. And what do they suggest to me? Sex sells. Soft core corn. Obviously replace the C with the P, right? Adult entertainment. It's like soft adult entertainment. So they want to keep you on the app, so they utilize the women there, right? And the women get rewarded. Why? Or how? Through the algorithm, right? So all the stuff I'm doing, we don't care about that. But an attractive woman, here you go, because they want people to stay on the app. And then a guy's perspective is he got to be flashy, grills, Lamborghini, so much muscles that he's not natural. Of course, all this exaggerated things to keep you there. YouTube is no different. They're all doing the same stuff. You always see a pretty woman having a weird face expression while she got a push-up bra, and you're gonna click on it. You're just gonna click on it. Why? Because you're attracted to that type of brain rot, and that's just unfortunate. Because if a lot of people didn't care about it, guess what? Most of those content creators will have to pivot to something different. But that's the oldest trick in the book. Sex sells, and many others, like I said.
Which has led to the rise of Blue Sky, a Twitter-like site that proudly boasts of not having an algorithm and even allows users to hide trending topics. The future of social media could look very different, unless Mr. Beast buys it, of course. Have you noticed how endless scrolling or heavy screen time affects your focus?
Have you guys even seen Mr. Beast thumbnails? I don't care. Let me do this. Look up Mr. Beast. His thumbnails are all uncanny. Mr. Beast. Look at all these dang thumbnails, man. Look at all this. I somehow have... Stop. Stop. Look at his thumbnails. it has an uncanny look to it. Everything is smiling, exaggerated, oversaturation. And that is, and usually the top content creators, they have this type of thumbnail layout. It's all like this, you know. It's a little bit of Photoshop and a little bit of AI. It's just nasty work, man. Look at all this. It's crazy. You guys remember back in the days when, you're right. Remember back in the days when you used to go to the movie theater, right? Before streaming, Netflix and all that stuff. And you was utterly surprised whenever, before the movie started, they had a bunch of trailers. And then there was no YouTube. There was no other way you can tell or know whenever a movie trailer or new content was going to come out. You have to wait. And you will randomly get surprised because it got you out of nowhere when you're watching the trailer. That was back then before YouTube. So you was like, wow, I didn't know they was going to come out with a sequel, or wow, they coming out with a new IP. What is this? I'm going to check this out. Now, things have completely changed. So when the movie trailer, right, is out before the movie, you're just watching it in the movie theater and the trailer is out, you're on your phone. You're on your phone. You know why? Because you've seen it already on YouTube, right? And then some people will get to the movie theater late. Why? Because they know that the trailers are going to be another 15 minutes and then the movie actually starts. So people will purposely skip the trailers because they already saw all of it on YouTube. What am I saying as a takeaway? That information is everywhere and is easily accessible in our fingertips to the point where we start to lose value. We become spoiled. When you have something super easy, you lose the value of it. And this is where we're at right now. This is why big companies are struggling trying to hold the attention of Gen Zs. This is why they bring influencers like cash.app and iShowSpeed, because they got the big numbers. And they're like, we don't know what we're doing, but just put them in there. You know, then they do the whole hello, my baby, hello, my darling, and just tap dancing for the masses. That's diabolical work, people. Diabolical work, in my opinion. But let's continue.
Memory or creativity? What's your strategy to fight brain rot? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Looking for more information?
All right, that's pretty much it for the video, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I have turned a 15-minute video into damn near an hour because I talk a lot. It's a lot to discuss and I don't edit nothing, people. So if you guys like that type of content when I don't edit nothing, just let me know down below, right? All right. And also 30 suggestions of videos you guys want me to react to, right? I do a lot of different drawing videos where I use myself to transform them into different IP characters, right? From Baki Hama to many other characters like this one you guys see right there, which is Attack on Titan, which is Eren Yeager and all that good stuff. So 30 suggestions, all that stuff. That's right. I am an artist. I'm a digital and traditional artist. So please be sure to like, share, subscribe. That really helps out with the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.